Hey, you guys, I'm going to hop over. Is this? Yeah, it's plugged in. Oh. Add to the stream. Okay. I was trying to figure this out. I had missed some type of step in setting this up. How are you guys? I was going to hop over onto the private support group because I have like 3 laptop screens in front of me. So, you guys see the title here, Machiavellianism and Going to War for Yourself. So, this is probably going to be a controversial live chat. It is. But I wanted to mention, this term on this channel because I haven't talked about it directly, although in a roundabout way, if we look at the characteristics of, what Machiavellianism is on a psychological level, we talk about this all the time. We just don't say the word. Okay. So let me hop over on the private support group real quick. And goodness, I have so many tabs open. How's everybody doing today? All right. And then just so you guys know, for those of you that request to come onto the private support group, by the way, always inbox me and let me know that you're a survivor. All right. So I'm just sending them that message real quick. I'm live on YouTube. Make sure you guys hit a like for the channel. It helps put that energy behind it that we need to help grow it. I'm live on YouTube right now. I'm joining. All right. We'll leave that there. And hopefully, you guys interact with me and let me know what you feel about these things as well. Yvette, she says, hi, Lakia. I finally caught a live chat. How are you today? I'm doing good. It's the middle of the day. I did give the twins their tablet, so hopefully, they will be mainly out of the way for us. So we'll see. I mean, their older sister is watching over them as well. So how many of you even know what Machiavellianism is or, have heard the word Machiavelli? Let me see. If I play something, are you guys going to hear it? I was going to play like the first few seconds of, I think it was Tupac. Hold on a minute here, you guys. I think he made an album called Machiavelli, right? Hold on a minute. Tupac. Yeah, he started calling himself that after he got out of jail. And most people have probably heard like a snippet of that, the Hail Mary thing. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to open that one. I just need it to be the actual, just straight to the jam. I ain't a killer, but don't push me. Revenge is like the sweetest joy next to getting pussy. This song right here. But I'm gonna stop there before I get like a strike. But yeah, Machiavellianism. Let's just go over the definition of it first before we go jumping into too many things here. So Machiavellianism, you guys, is a term used in psychology that refers to a personality trait, okay, in which a person is so focused on their own interests that they will manipulate, deceive, and exploit others to achieve their goals. And it's something called, or they made it a part of something called a dark triad, and it's like a triangle. And Machiavellianism is in one of the corners, and then the other 2 corners are narcissism and psychopathy, if you will. or being a psychopath. Okay. The Machiavellianism term itself is stemming from an Italian Renaissance, a political philosopher and author, actually, because they're books that were published after his death that gave him the most notoriety, Niccolo Machiavelli. So he's a philosopher who ruled over a part of Florence, Italy for some time. And he used a certain type of mindset when he was doing so. I'm just trying to break this down, you guys, in the most simplest way that anybody could really understand. And to this day, you know, his way of processing things are up for debate. You know, some people say he was just a realist and he was just working with the reality of how the world is. And then other people see him, you know, as in psychology, maybe as this Machiavellianism type of personality trait, which isn't in a positive light of someone who's just selfish and exploitive and, like I said, manipulative and deceptive. So I wanted to point this out on a channel like this because, you know, a narcissist obviously can have this type of energy with them. And I'm quite sure that they have. As a matter of fact, if I go down the 20 questions of the quiz or the test that they would give you if you wanted to test how much of this Machiavellianism do you have inside of yourself, there's actually a test that you can take for that. After this video uploads, you guys, you can feel free to take the test or take the test for the narc or the toxic person you have in mind, you know, and how you know their mind to operate and see. They'll give you a scale from 0 to 100. Okay. If you just look at the kinds of questions that they ask on this test, you'll have actually a pretty good idea or an even stronger understanding of what this Machiavellianism looks like. Okay, so I'll just go down some of the questions for you guys. Let me find that section of my PDF because where I have all my notes here. Okay, so some of the types of questions that you will see on this test would be the best way to handle people is to tell them what they want to hear. And on a test, it's like agree, disagree, and then in between, it's like strongly agree, strongly disagree, like that. So yeah, the best way to handle people is to tell them what they want to hear. It's wise to flatter important people. The biggest difference between criminals is that criminals and other people is that criminals are stupid enough to get caught. It'll ask you a question like, you should only take actions when it's moral. It's possible to be good in all respects. Generally speaking, people won't work hard unless they're forced to do so. Questions like, there is no excuse for lying to someone else. And when you ask someone to do something for you, it is best to give the real reason for wanting it rather than giving them the reasons which carry more weight. You know, that's the manipulation. Questions like, there's a sucker born every minute. Questions like, never tell anyone the real reason you did something unless it is useful to do so. Okay. These are the types of questions. Anyone who completely trusts anyone else is asking for trouble. Most people who get ahead in the world lead clean, moral lives. I probably should be giving my little thoughts on each one of these because I took the test myself, you guys. I did. People suffering from incurable diseases should have the choice of being put to death painlessly. Most people are basically good and kind. It is hard to get ahead without cutting corners here and there. Honesty is the best policy in all cases. Okay, so these are the types of questions. I probably damn near went through all of them except for a couple. Here's one. It is safest to assume that all people have a vicious streak and it will come out when they are given the chance. Okay. So these are the type of questions that you would find on a quiz like that. And all right. Let me see something here, you guys. I also read an article that kind of pointed out characters that would give you like a little bit of an indication, like if I were to tell you someone in Hollywood or a character that could give you an idea of what Machiavellianism would look like on screen. Tony Soprano, he could be a character, that could help to demonstrate Machiavellianism. Okay. Yeah. And with him, there's a point about Machiavellianism, or basically that Nicole talked about as far as being feared or loved. I think Tony Soprano could basically be a good character to describe that. Let me just find the words that Machiavelli said on the love and fear type of thing. And he said, upon the question arises whether it would be better to be loved than feared, or feared than loved. And then he says, it may be answered that one should wish to be both. So then in that case, I want people to be afraid of how much they love me, if you will. But in another sense, he said, because it is difficult to unite them in one person, getting them to have that, having fear for how much they love you, it is much safer to be feared than loved. When of the two, either must be dispensed with. When either one of the two. Back in the English, they kind of wrote in this like little broken kind of way. But yeah, so he's basically saying if you have to choose between one or the other, I'm going with fear, baby. And honestly, you can see these type of tactics, especially in people who work in the school of hard knocks, if you will. We're talking about drug dealers and stuff like that. So a lot of actually Nicole's mentality, you're going to see that play out, like I said, in people who are out in the streets. And honestly, his whole nature and way of thinking is stemming from politics. So I'll say that as well, you guys. This was Nicole's way of dealing with politics. So this is why when you guys are looking at your politicians, you're going to feel this energy with them as well. And another thing that Nicole pointed out is, and I'm trying to find here, he basically was saying that you can't be a good person and a good Christian at the same time, as far as running a state. And by that, running a land, being over a kingdom, if you will. He's saying that you can't be a good Christian and do that at the same time. And hey, CB247. I'm trying to find something, you guys, because I had so many notes in here. And they were quotes, because I wanted to do quotes, like get you the words right out the horse's mouth. On a point that I was about to make. But yeah, he's basically in the energy of being the man and the beast and appearing to be good, but knowing how to be evil for sure. And maybe you're not loved, but he pushed to just don't be hated, and you could find that with politicians. A lot of times, you may not love or like them, but if you don't hate them, they're living to see another day, if you will. All right. And then he talked about not having like this energy of being neutral. And a lot of people have argued with this concept as well. Taking a stance And, like the other day, someone said, oh, I'm still friends with my narcissist. And he says, when you take on that energy, you're just setting yourself up for a failure. And he kind of compared it to, two people, two other states around you going into a battle. And one is asking you to help them or whatnot, or picking a side, and you kind of stay neutral. And he's basically saying when you don't pick a side and you're on a fence, you leave yourself vulnerable to both sides. The person that wins will resent you for not going all in with them, and the person that loses will resent you for not going all in with them as well. But other philosophers later have argued, well, if you don't, sometimes you should stay neutral out of discernment, basically. Because if you pick the wrong side and they lose, now the side that won you're gonna feel some of the karma or the wrath or the scorning of the losing side. So that's kind of like the mindset behind that. But there have been instances in war where people have remained neutral and it actually has benefited them because they weren't remaining neutral out of weakness, because that's how Nicole's seen it. Being neutral out of was a sign of weakness and leaving you vulnerable. But he made it like one size fit all, basically, and maybe that is what has kept him as a popular topic, because everything was like pretty much white and black with him. This is how I feel, this is how I see things, and it wasn't a lot of space for grayness, if you will. And his massive message is there isn't a such thing as a kind and effective leader, basically. So I have a question for you guys that are listening. And these types of questions are the types of questions that Nicole Machiavelli, his energy, I'll tell you what his energy would say to this. Would it be okay to torture a 14-year-old innocent daughter of a man who kidnapped 10 children if it would get the other 10 children released? Okay. So this question was asked to some politicians, and they said, yes, it would be okay to do it because you lose one child over 10. So surely for numerous, when you're looking at the numbers of things, basically, it's okay to do this. I'm wondering what you guys feel about that. Is it okay to torture that one 14-year-old girl to save the other 10 children? And this is a channel full of empaths who wouldn't want to have to make that decision, but would have to. And I'm going to say what my thoughts are. My thoughts are, is that really the only solution? That would be my thoughts. CB247, are you still here? Do you have any thoughts on that question? My question is, would it be the only way to resolve the issue so where none of the children would have to be sacrificed? I would consider if there was another way around that. But if there wasn't a way around it, which one would you choose? Would you go through with that? And, Nicole Machiavelli definitely would torture that one person, that one daughter, to get the other 10. Yeah. So the chill_wildlife says she wouldn't be able to do it. She wouldn't be able to authorize the torturing, if we had captured that 14-year-old daughter and they had 10 of our children, she wouldn't be able to go through with that, CB247 says, I was thinking if there was a way we could convince them that we were torturing her, but not really doing it. There you go. Did you watch that Netflix series, The Last Kingdom? Because they did something like that. There was a scene And this is like kind of back in Nicole's time period where they captured the twins of a barbaric leader of another tribe that was wreaking hell on them. But unfortunately, there were already some children who had passed away. There were already some children who had passed away of similar size. It was a bunch of children because they came through the land and they killed all of the citizens, as many as they can, women, children, everyone. So they actually had his twins, his only children, I think. No, it wasn't his only children, but he cared dearly for them nonetheless. And, they beheaded two of the children that were already deceased or something like that. And they threw one of the deceased corpses over a bridge or something to give an illusion that, we got one of them, we're going to kill the other one if you don't do something else type of thing. It was, so they kind of did that. So I like that CB247, always trying to find a way around it, but it has to be just as snatching and effective, just as effective. So that's a good idea. So the child _ wildlife is like, whoo, yes, we escaped one with that. But yes, we were able to make that illusion. So yeah. So with that being said, you guys, there are loopholes here. We understand that, the world isn't full of goodness. And sometimes, when we're working against a certain energy, we're going to have to be crafty as well. But it doesn't always have to be evil and dark, And I'm not saying that war can always be avoided. As a matter of fact, as you can see the other side of this video, let me see, and going to war for yourself, you have to, because we always talk about the spiritual warfare, but all too often, too many survivors, they go harder for other people than they will for themselves. So, and that becomes the problem right there. And that's what makes you vulnerable, being on the fence, getting sucked back into the hoovers, basically, not knowing your worth, not drawing the line, continuing, to let your enemies in, continuing to subject yourself for wars. And I agree, like when it comes to narcissistic abuse, you can't wound that. Don't just try to wound the narcissist. You got to just destroy that situation. And it's not about destroying them. It's just about destroying their access to your life, if you will. Because I ain't telling nobody to go out there and take somebody's life now. I mean, just be straight. Because he's talking about war. He says, don't wound them, destroy them. Don't wound them, destroy them. And then he also points out your enemy will ask that you remain neutral. An ally will demand that you declare yourself by action. Hold on a minute. But yeah, we have to destroy it, you guys. You can't stay neutral with an energy like that. It's a complete setup in certain situations for sure. Yeah. And that's when you have to put your thinking caps on, like CB247 said. And be clever, Exactly. The access really has to be denied because, it has to come to a point where it's on your terms or no terms. No terms. Now, this person comes back and hoovers you. A lot of times, if it's a narcissist, every time it's still going to be in this selfish energy, and selfishness doesn't go with a healthy relationship. There has to be some type of give and take. And then when you're done with the situation, they're going to try to come back in and they're still not ready to really prove anything because they can't prove it because They haven't really changed, you guys. So saying it versus doing it is something completely different. And it shouldn't be a task or a chore, because you'll see very quickly if this narcissist came back and it seems like they're coming harder than all the other times, and you try to make them prove it, it's going to be a problem. You make them have to be transparent with you, make them have to be honest with you, make them have to put the proof in the pudding. Okay, well, you said that, but this is what I need you to show me. It's going to always be a problem, you guys. And it shouldn't be a task or a chore to prove your love, to prove your loyalty, to prove the changes that you're claiming to make with people. That shouldn't be hard to do when there's real love involved, as they claim when they come back. So if it's a task, if it's a chore, we know, it's insincere and they're not really what they're presenting to you yet again, then what's the real motivation here? Is it sex motivated? Is it money, something that they think they're going to gain from you? What is the real motivation then here? And this is why you have to go to war to protect yourself. And I've said this for years about having that adequate shield on yourself, to where people like this, they're pretty much one and done. Sometimes they slip through the cracks, but as soon as it's revealed to me, I know what to do with you. I know where to send you at that point. CB247 says, wow, I never thought about it, but enemies, bad people, bullies do want you to stay out of it, and family and friends be like, what we're going to do. Yeah. Because if you're neutral, nothing has to stop. Something that's toxic doesn't have to stop if it's neutral. And then if it's neutral, you're not coming against them as well. So it keeps you out of the way. It allows a situation to continue to fester. And that's why I think when people say, when good people stand by, something like that, it just allows the cycles to continue to come back around or whatever. It just allows that energy to continue to run amok and, continue to fester and whatnot. Somebody can help me with that saying, but yeah, that's why people say that at times. And you said this in the last live chat, chill_wildlife says, that's why I say starve it and it will die. If you starve them of your energy, the situation will die. Yep, generally speaking. But I did point out last video that sometimes when you're starving it, you have to understand that they crave it as well, which is why they're coming back for the Hoover to begin with. See, these people, they feel depleted of love and the things that they need. And that's why they're trying to fill those voids with you guys. So they've gone in their mind a long time without love and reciprocation. Now, this could be an actual fact. Maybe they've dealt with a lot of people that were in their energy, broken and unable to give or receive love, just looking out for self, taking advantage of them. Or it could be a case that they've had many cycles of rejecting love themselves because of their own brokenness, not being able to really let that love in, you guys. But still, their perception will become their reality at that time. And they're going to crave what you were giving them because, doesn't it feel good? Whether I'm loving you back or not, it's still going to feel good for me to receive your love and your praise and, whatever you're providing for them. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, sexually, there's a safety that I feel in having you as my ally, even if I'm not yours. Even if I can't do the same for you, it's, still going to feel good to receive it from you. So when you starve it, there may be a part in that process to where they're going to be like the emotionally stunted toddlers that they are. They're going to be kicking and screaming about this. Because they're still going to be craving it. And this could show out in different types of ways. It can be them just literally coming back and trying to hoover you. And then it could be them trying to hurt you and pull on your emotional strings, trying to evoke jealousy, try to, flip the script and make it feel like they're not hurting, as a matter of fact, on any type of level. Because just because they don't have empathy per se, or they don't have appropriate kind of empathies, but as we go up the scale, because there's a spectrum, there's just completely not any once we're dealing with a psychopath. But most of you probably are not dealing with a psychopath. So just because they don't have empathy and feeling sorry for how they treated you, it doesn't mean that they don't feel any kind of way about not having you in their life, especially if you were good to them. Having empathy for how they treated you and having feelings about this being over are two different things. And my puppy is hiding in my closet. Mary, what are you doing in there, buddy? She likes to take naps in my closet. Oh, yeah. Having a puppy, it really is like having another child. But yeah, we have to understand that. And they're going to be craving that, you guys. Ben Rill says, evil men prevail. Hold on, you guys. The twins need me to open a bag of chips. Let me see. Oh, you want a big bag, huh? Here. Yes, a lot of evil men, they do prevail here in the 3 dimension. They do. But the world belongs to the devil, for those of you who follow the Bible. So that's not a surprise that evil men prevail here on earth. Lots of them. Let's see here. And Ben Real got it right there. When good people do nothing, evil prevails. There you go. Nice and simple. Thank you. Anne Marie de Groot says, Hayukas and super empaths have been created to carry out whatever's necessary, especially when innocent children are in harm's way. Balance, good and bad, evil exists for a purpose. It does. It does. Because, even if we just look at the evil, that you've experienced in your life, it was to get your attention about something, wasn't it? It gave you an opportunity to actually become lighter in your own life. So, but you have to know what to do with that evil and not succumb to it. That's the thing. CB247 says, did you get your feelings hurt somewhere? Are you asking me that or someone else? Mm-hmm. Stephanie Tyson says, his regiment fluttered like a bird, preening its plumage and becoming motionless. Occasionally he cannot lend a hand with the chores. A bird song. Is that someone's poem? Or an excerpt from The Prince, perhaps? Which is Nicole Machiavelli's book. And she says, cute, my puppy is right here, asleep beside me, always watching over me and protecting me, my most loyal loved one. Yeah, they're cute, but you do have to keep an eye on them, you guys. But yeah, we have to go to war for ourselves, and not seeing it as a war can make you susceptible, obviously, to getting sucked back in, you guys. So it has to be on your terms or no terms. You have to think about it. If someone, number one, if it's a narcissist, it should be no terms. But let's say you're not sure if this person is a narcissist, but they have effed up many a times in you guys' relationship. And here this person is coming back, wanting you to let them back in. They have some showing and proving to do, right? It can't just be tell me everything you think I want to hear and the red carpet is rolled out this time around. Because how many times have they betrayed you at this point? Even if you're not even sure if they're a narcissist, it has to be on your terms or no terms. If you're coming back to somebody, you need to have some level of humbleness here. You can't be coming back and thinking you're going to be the shot caller. Okay? No, you came back to me. And that's the thing. Sometimes the narcissist is the one coming back to you. You're not even seeking them out. But once they do come back, it's not on any type of humble level. And that's part of how they tell on themselves. It's part of how they tell on themselves, how they come back to you. You know, because everything is supposed to really just, in their mind, be swept under the rug because they said they were sorry. You know, you said you were sorry. You know what? Saying that ain't good enough anymore. Maybe somebody could get away with that from the first offense. You know, these people are just notorious. The chill wildlife says, will the narc flip the script and make you up to be the narc? Absolutely, because they're very image focused, number one. And if they feel like they can plant any seeds of doubt to, you know, mind fuck you, if you will, they're going to do it. But they're image focused. They don't want their family and friends to see them bare and naked, really. Go back to what Machiavelli said. Appear good, but know how to do evil. They want to appear good to their family and friends because they still need the supply from them. If they're going to lose you, they need their family and friends supply more than ever. So the more they can make you look a certain way, the more protected they're going to feel, the more empathy they can get from other sources or continue to get from other sources now that they don't have you, especially. So yeah, they want to make you appear to be the narc. But that's when you got to know who you are. and that's laughable. And then don't get wrapped up in what other people think. And this is, you know, a huge pitfall, especially the people on their end of the side. Come on, it's their family and friends. Even if they know this narcissist ain't shit, and maybe some of them might not know it, you know, they might not know it because they don't deal with them on the level that you have. But it's still their family and friends. You know, so many survivors have gotten caught up in just, number one, absorbing the emotion, hurt, and pain that they want you to when they smear you or flip the script and say you were doing all the things that they were doing. But we can't be shocked and surprised that a family member that was nice to you or friendly with you while you were with a narcissist suddenly sides with them. They were already on their side to begin with. So you have to have new expectations at that point. You know, you have to have new expectations. I'm not with them no more. You can't even look at them as your family or friends. You know, chances are they're going to be with that person now. And that's fine. That's fine. You don't need validation. You know, you don't need the validation of their family and friends. You don't need them to understand. You just need to understand. You don't even need the validation. It's nice to have it from your family and friends. It's nice to have your own support system. But the stronger you are in yourself, you don't need it from no damn body at that point. I knew what I experienced behind closed doors. And a lot of survivors, you know, have suffered in silence, which means while they were out painting this picture about you the whole damn time, you wasn't, you know, you wasn't doing that. You was just maybe had one or two confidants. Maybe you put yourself into counseling. Maybe you just talked you and God, you know, but you didn't go out and do all this stuff to them. You weren't setting the stage. You weren't doing that type of stuff. So yes, they can absolutely try to make you look like the narc, but the proof is in the pudding. And this is the other thing that I'm going to say to you guys. At the end of the relationship, when your emotions are finally starting to come out because you kind of turned all these cheeks with this person, let bygones be bygones one too many damn times, right? And now you're finally boiling and you're ready to lash out And then, their family and friends might see you doing this, but they don't know what this person put you through. They don't know. They don't know because that person has projected it all onto you. They don't know. And that's why you just have to learn how to give no fucks. And I tried so hard not to curse like that on this live chat. But you know what? God damn it. It is what it is around here. Sometimes no other word will do. And I'm up here. I've been lighting a little bit of sage, and I got little Palo Santo sticks going here. Because, that's what I do. But yeah, they don't know, because people from the outside looking in like, dang, you being hard on them. Nah, I wasn't hard enough from the rip. And that's why where we at right now. They don't know. They don't know. And because of that, you really have to just not give any fucks. It is what it is. I'm going to war for my spirit, my happiness, my peace, my future self, my present self, bitch. And I'm taking up for my past self that had to deal with the bullshit. So you could think I'm a bitch. You could think I'm being too hard on this person, but they don't know, They don't know what you put up with. And this person deserves everything they got coming, or whatever your energy is, however you block them off, however no contact you decide to go with them, they deserve every second of it, all of it. All of it. So they're going to go run and be the victim at that point. Oh, well, but we know that they're going to do, a narcissist is going to do what it's in the nature of a narcissist to do. A toxic person is going to do. A manipulator is going to do. We got to stop being surprised when people do what they're supposed to do, what it's in their nature to do. All right, let's see here. CB247 says, you're right. You have to cut it off. You have to cut it, or if you have to deal with it for the sake of children, set strict boundaries with them and stick to them. Yes, and we call that gray rocking. When you have children and you're parallel parenting, okay? I had to talk to someone about this yesterday who did a coaching session with me, and they were just really upset. I'm trying to co-parent with this narcissist, and they're not doing this, and da-da-da-da-da. Number one, I have content on here about that, you guys. But number two, you're not co-parenting. You're parallel parenting. So I introduced that term to her and gave her some information on that. And you're going to have a different type of perceptions, different expectations, and definitely a different approach to the situation, or else you're going to be constantly hurting yourself at that point. Because that person is what they are. Ben Real says, if it hasn't been said before, in my experience, holding on to resentment about the provocation of the narc is a form of supplying them. Even if there's no contact, the demon on them picks up on it. Yeah. And I think we talked about this in my last live chat where I think the second half of the live chat, we talked about things that we don't think about when we're in the thick of things. And I talked about how, yes, bitterness, resentment, stress, all of that is just toxic inside of your body. But Ben is adding another level here where, this energy vampire, where, remember, I think in the Tom Cruise movie, which is my favorite vampire movie here. What was the name of it? It was long as hell, but it was one of the long movies that, even though it was super long, Interview with the Vampire, bam. They could read minds and stuff. And that's like a general trait in most of the vampire movies. But yeah, there's a lot of telepathy going on and stuff like that. They can pick up on these energies, and it keeps you stuck beyond that. Because if you're holding on to that resentment and everything, that means there's probably some bitterness lurking there. And if you're in that energy of bitterness, you're not welcoming in new energy. And if you are welcoming in new energy, you're not doing it with a clean slate. You're not doing it in a fresh sense, if you will. And it's almost like a self-sabotage, because the energy or the people that you're going to draw near you may be toxic as well, or you're going to taint it with that type of energy that you're bringing because you're still holding on to your past. So yes, it is still supply for them, and they'll feel like they still have you in your grasp. That's why it's just great to let them know I'm good. I'm peaceful. I'm good. And to sincerely mean it, with your actions, you could just show them that really. All right. Hi, Teresa Will. Welcome to the live chat. Make sure you guys are hitting a like as you come in to help show support for the channel. Patriarchy CB247 says patriarchy plays a major role here, because a lot of families will believe you're crazy if that person is a good provider and wonder what you are complaining about anything. Yeah, because, at this point, it's what they're prioritizing or what they're putting. What is the word that I'm trying to find here? Are we in a Mercury retrograde? Because I feel like my speech is like, ugh. Is what they're putting their value in, basically. And yeah, a lot of people have that. Well, if they're paying all the bills, consider yourself lucky. Money is king in that point. Yeah. Yeah, but you don't have to worry about that, because you see their mind is not, they're not looking beyond even the 3D. They're just looking at what they can see and touch at that point. They're not thinking about the abuse. Yeah, that would be awesome. I should. That would really revamp the channel. It would. And if I start, bringing people in and doing interviews, I think that's a great idea, Kiki. Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? Oh, well, Ben Rills, what are you saying here? At CB247, that's inaccurate. Both of my parents are narcissists. My father was vilified, but she wasn't with her people. Same thing with the flying monkeys. Gender politics have nothing to do with that. Sometimes gender politics can come into play, Ben. I think, both situations could play out, what you're saying and what CB247 is saying. So it could have some gender politics in there. Every situation, has different circumstances, because we're dealing with whatever the mentality is of the group, of that bunch, whatever that family holds to value. So I won't say, I'm not really the person that's like all, never, always. There's certain instances where you can use those words intelligently, but in a lot of cases, you can't just put everything, make it one way or all another way. So, because there's different situations, you guys. So, I guess while we're on here, we can talk about how narcissists expose themselves. Okay, we can do that. I was writing on this earlier, you guys, and you guys can, add your tips down there as well if you feel like there's something that I might miss, how narcissists expose themselves. And I've made other content on this. So basically, sometimes a narcissist will literally tell on themselves, like literally, you guys. They'll literally, and this is just a part of needing that admiration and going so much off their ego, needing to brag about the agenda, like they might not even believe that they're pulling this off. Yeah, they'll just say it right under their breath. Sometimes they literally just say it out loud. They're literally just text it, or and whatever, or they'll just say it under their breath. So they're literally just telling themselves. I find a lot of times that, especially if you're dealing with one that has a lot of watery signs in them, that makes them even more emotional. Okay. Their facials will not align with their words. So they'll come tell you something, and the facial expression that they have while they're telling you it will not feel in sync at all, you guys. And this is for my empaths. And even if you don't feel like you're an empath, if you're just paying the fuck attention, like you'll just feel that insincerity, like that robotic, that cold detachedness. Okay. Yeah, the facial will not align with the words. And then they might not even give you eye contact, which, that's either someone could be afraid or deceptive. But when we're dealing with these people, I could say it's a little bit of both too. Afraid that you're going to see the shame and guilt, inside of their eyes, that you're going to see their insecurities and stuff. But also, even more than that, being deceptive. They think they're being sneaky. But, they say their eyes are looking to the soul. So, don't want you to see all that. Don't want you to see it. So, I would make people look me in the eyes. I'll point it out. I'll require that. But you don't want a person that has, that intuitiveness, especially if they feel like you got that. They definitely don't want you to see. CB247 said, "Oh my God, I think I found my tribe. I remember I used to act like had a new boo and they never seen phase. But the moment I got comfortable with someone else for real, the Joker showed up." Yeah. Yeah. Right. Oh, because, you really moved on. Because while you're all boo-hooing and doing the work and healing yourself, you still stand to yourself and whatnot. But you actually out here as a free agent now. You actually giving that potent energy. And then after dealing with them is going to be better. The people who come next after them, they're going to get a better version of you. Thanks to the narcissist. Because number one, you're not going to let any more of that bullshit through the cracks, but they've taught you some more game. You've gotten some more wisdom out of that situation. It was hurtful, but it definitely don't have to, bring you down. CB247 says, oh. Okay. So that's just two of them going back and forth with each other. All right. Well, you guys can hash that out. I already done said my little piece on that. So yeah, ways that they expose themselves. Number one, bragging about the agenda and saying it. The no eye contact, those facials, body language, and honestly, they telling themselves, "Hold on a minute. Let me let them know I'm on a live chat." So you can find out surely by their inconsistency. I mean, how else somebody telling themselves? By being inconsistent or being sloppy with their efforts of being sneaky. This is somebody that just gets caught anyway because they do a sloppy job of even trying to hide the evidence. And then they can even expose themselves through the people they're dealing with. These third party situations that they're telling lies to, they get hurt too. And when they get hurt, they reach out to you. So, yeah. Kiki is giving me some suggestions. All right, who's these celebrities I should be talking to? Kelly Rowland and Lisa McClendon, Survivor Stories. Well, I'll look into it. Let me see what's going on with Kelly Rowland. Did I miss something with her? I thought she was living her best life and being a mommy and stuff. Something must have happened in her situation. Ben Real at CB247 says, "And I was ignored and unloved by my mother, who spent all her time teaching and nurturing other people's kids. If I blamed it on feminism, then I'd be a narc to my daughter, mixing the gender BS in. But you know what your mom did a lot of times with narcissism, or narcissists being so externally focused, there's a way to that's an example of that right there. And then, you know, if you think about narcissists, the supply that they already have doesn't mean as much to them as the supply that they can get, Ben, even with their own children, you know? And that's why I think I've said this years ago, the primary supplies get treated the worst. They get treated the worst. So, and children aren't exempt from that. Children aren't exempt from that. So, you know, that public image, and then, you know, if you were to go and say something about that, they would be like, after she helped all these children, you see what I'm saying? They would not want to even phantom that she didn't give that same type of love and care to you. They wouldn't want to phantom it. And that's the shortcoming of, you know, the human mind a lot of times. And not understanding psychology and how these things work. So, you know, at this point, I'm just thinking, like, what is my general synopsis on Nicole Machiavelli? I'm not going to say he's all bad, and I'm not going to say he's all good. I think that we can learn from him in his way of thinking. Would I just make him my God and idolize him and, you know, say, oh, this is how I'm going to, you know, this is the way I'm going to wire my brain? No, I just think, you know, I can respect some of the things that he has to say, for sure. And I do think, you know, he was just going off of how he felt like the world worked. But, you know, when you're a spiritual person, which he is known for being an atheist, you know that you're supposed to be in the world, but not of it. But when you take a position as such as he did, you know, when you become that prince, or you have to take a certain level of leadership, you're putting yourself in a position to have to choose. You really are. You're putting yourself in a position to have to choose. And if you're too spiritual and religious, you're going to come down in that environment. So he had to adapt if he wanted to win at that. And that's rough. And that's rough for someone, you know, well, number one, I'm not saying he was this overly spiritual person, but if you are, then should you be going into politics? Should you be putting yourself in these positions where you're going to have to completely abandon your God, if you will? You know, that's basically my takeaway from this type of situation. But beyond the politics and leading the state, if you will, like I said, people that are dealing drugs, you know, they come into this type of mentality as well. So any place where you're subjecting yourself to a lot of dark energy or evilness, where, you know, the stakes are higher in that area, you're going to have to start pick and choosing at that point. So let's see what the rest of these messages are. Yeah, I think, you know, and there are other people who have written books and other books that I've gotten into, and I didn't really get into his book, The Prince, and just really talked about him and his, ideology, if you will. But I think I did the 48 Laws of Power like 2 years ago. I talked about that, the art of war. I think I made playlists for these. So if you guys are interested, and I picked out some of the laws from the 48 powers. And then I think I even talked about the 50th power that Green did with 50 Cent. So yeah. And you guys, 50 Cent, you guys see how he moves and shakes. Okay, so I see you two are still hashing things out, Ben and CB247. All right, wait a minute. Let me see what you guys are up to. And I ignored. Yeah, that had nothing to do with feminism. That had nothing to do with feminism. But the good thing is CB247, you can acknowledge the damage that she did, on not being there for you. But it's great that you chose to not become your abuser, and you're different with your children. So that's a win right there. You guys can read the comments on the screen as I'm touching them. Making my child feel like I felt is horrifying to me. Right. Yeah. But so many people become their abuser. And I wouldn't want you guys to do that after dealing with a lot of narcissists, becoming the narcissist yourself. And I think that can happen. Or becoming more narcissistic yourself. That can happen. And I think that comes from healing improperly. And then gravitating to these toxic perceptions, which are then going to affect your behaviors. LOL Delarice, Narc exposed himself when he said he was going to jump out the window. Then he said, never mind, at the last minute. Yeah, I have to look into that before I can give, a thought on that. But as far as the active self of, we know that, some narcissists, they try to get empathy or get your attention. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to do this and that. But we know they're too egotistical to do that. They're too self-centered to actually let themselves go. CB247 said, what if God has the world in masks right now to force us to look one another in the eye? Well, that's kind of like goes against each other, to have us in masks, but then to force. Oh, you mean to have all this deception going on to get us to see the deception, if you will? To cause all of these betrayals to get us to see the betrayals are there, if you will? Well, he'll use, he'll make lemonade out of lemons for sure. And that's how, survivors can become better after the dark experience. What I'm saying is he would be in my ear using her and feminism as talking point to put his hooks in me. Guess what I'm saying to those archies and isms is a shell for something deeper and darker. Right. But I'm not saying, abusing a child has nothing to do with feminism. So, I mean, unless you're talking about abortions, and those are for unborn children. Hold on a minute, you guys. Oh yeah, I'm home. LOL. I was literally just giving thanks for the lessons I learned from a betterment in my relationships. Right, right, right. And I tell people this in coaching all the time. Those relationships are catalysts. They're supposed to be. They're not supposed to be this forever prison sentence for you. A catalyst for you to come back to yourself, get recentered, get connected to the source, get grounded in what's actually meaningful, get grounded in what's actually going to work for you. So you guys might find we just had a new moon in Aries, I believe over the weekend. And, this is a great time to have a fresh start. And there's a lot of aggressive energy in the climate right now for you guys to, jumpstart a fresh start, in an Aries type of way. I don't know how many of y'all Aries on here, but Aries don't be playing. Don't be playing about nothing. It is what it is with an Aries. It works for me or it doesn't. It's for my good or it isn't. And Aries are brave. They're generally brave. They're brave enough to let go of something that isn't for them. They're brave enough to stand in their own fucking truth, even if it's by themselves. Okay? So hop on that Aries energy right now and use that to manifest any parts of your life where you need to be stronger, where you need to be braver, where you need to have a shift. Use that energy. It's in the climate right now for you to use. You want to take advantage of it. Fresh starts. Aries is the first sign in astrology. It's the first one. So this is a fresh start period right now. And it's so what is the word for it? Appropriate. It's so appropriate because we're in the midst of spring. And what happens in spring? Things blossom. So, all the dead leaves that fell and fall, and, anything that had to die during wintertime, now it's time to let it go. Release. Ben Rose says, facts. The Aries I am. The boundary game is dope as fuck. Yeah. On the light side now. On the light side. We want to stay on the light side of Aries because we could talk about the dark side of Aries too. And that could be someone that could be tyrannical. So don't overdo. Don't overkill any situation, meaning you could kill something without overkilling it. You don't have to start a fist fight. You can just end something. You don't have to have an argument. You can just say what it is. So just, make sure with that Aries energy, which is Mars and war, that you just take the appropriate stance. And that also goes back to Nicole Machiavelli as well, because he wasn't about overkills either. Is if you have to do something, do it. But if you can get your goals met with less, then do it. Because if you think about it, it's less energy. If you're overkilling something, you're using more resources, you're taking more time, effort, and energy that you didn't need all that. If you sit back, if you're playing chess on a board and you're like, okay, I could have gotten what I needed done by just doing this. I didn't need to go ahead and do this, that too. So just, keep that into consideration, but be careful when you're dealing with such disrespectful people. They can eventually bring you to that breaking point and you'll feel like one of them people. Snap. What is that show? What channel? I don't even watch it, but I think it comes on TLC. These snap people who get abused over and over and over and over and then they snap. I'm going to do a live chat on that and we'll just talk about some survivors who got in that Aries energy and they got all the way. And I can't even blame that all on the Aries energy. That's more like Scorpio energy because their Scorpio energy is allowed to transition motherfuckers, okay? Like end life, basically. So, yeah. But you guys, you don't want to be on Snapped because they've done much and it can make you want to snap. And that's why it's so important to get yourself in a community, to get yourself, proper therapy and all of that good stuff to make sure that you're having the right perspectives, because we're all human. We all have anger, all of that aggressions. I have a 3-part series on anger for any of you who are struggling with that because, it was mad, disrespectful, hurtful, harmful, all of that, you guys. You endure a lot. And there's nothing wrong with having anger, but you just don't want to do anything that's to your detriment, okay? Because you have a lot to live for. And it ain't worth it. So, yeah, some of us may have to work with that. But getting angry is a good sign. That means you're acknowledging that, hey, somebody abused me, somebody crossed boundaries with me, somebody disrespected me. It's not a bad thing. It's just, how you're going to channel that, how you're going to use that energy. Because like I said, I don't want any of you to be one of them snap folks. Okay. Okay, you guys are still hashing it out, I say. So I don't know how many of you were versed with Nicole Machiavelli, but how many of you actually kind of agree more with his sentiment? I'm curious to know. Let me know down in the comments, or those of you who are in the live chat now can let me know how many of you actually agree with his sentiment. And I'm looking at him. He's May 3rd. So that 3 is Jupiter. May. It sounds like he might have been a Taurus. That made him real stubborn right there. He was like, no, this is how it is. And Jupiter just made it stronger. So, but he was an earth sign. I think. Kiki Jefferson says, and then anyone who has any questions, feel free. In case you don't know, when I do a live chat for all my newcomers, those are great times to ask me questions. Feel free. But Kiki has a question. Is narcissism genetic? Yeah, it can be. It definitely can be. It can be. So if you've had a child with a narcissist, you better be saying some extra prayers over that child's head before it even comes out of your womb, baby. If you're having a child with a female narcissist, be praying for that child right off the rip. Pray for that child right off the rip. Because, you got to think about it. Half of the DNA is coming from one parent and half of it is coming from the other, you guys. So that person's energy, whether you want it to or not, is going into that child as well, parts of them. So you're going to have to work to try to combat that, basically. Yes, it can be genetic. Hold on, you guys. Any more questions? But yeah, it can be genetic, hon. It can. And that's why, you hear the apples from the tree and all of this. Yeah. And that sucks. And that can suck, because that child, despite all the love you give it, it could still just end up being like that narcissistic parent, taking on those traits, dominating it. So that's why you don't want to have a child with an angry man. And, of course, you would never want to knowingly just have a child with a narcissist either. Yeah. But yeah, it can be genetic, hon. It can be genetic. But in a perfect world, which we definitely don't have, this touchscreen works when it wants to work. That's funny. In a perfect world, narcissists wouldn't procreate, you know. Then a lot of us wouldn't be here, right? Goodness. Anne says, why are they so relentless? Well, I always talk about the spectrum and, you know, starting with just a regular narcissist, then going to being a sociopath, and then going up to being a psychopath. And they're so relentless. And this is scientifically proven because they have done these studies on people's brain who struggle with empathy. And there is a section of the brain where that focuses on the empathy, and they don't have the amount of gray matter there that other people have. So depending on their brain and how much of a detriment that is on their brain, because it is a brain injury, they will have less and less empathy to no empathy. So that relentlessness part, and then just having that tunnel vision, you know, because this is a layered question. It's not just one thing, but they have a brain injury, yes, in the department of empathy. So that makes them relentless, you know, on a dark side to their own selfish needs. And you can also think of them as emotionally immature and emotionally stunted. Think of a toddler throwing a tantrum and really wanting what they want. And a toddler can be relentless about it, right? Like to the point where they just fall asleep from crying so hard and demanding to get something. So you can look at them in that type of way, lesser evolved, but in a more sophisticated level, once we're talking about psychopaths and stuff, this is their happiness, you know. So if it was their master plan to, say, shoot down those towers or 9/11, and, you know, the happiness and the success and the joy that they're going to get from pulling that off, that's enough. It's like a high and a drug at that point. And there's a reward, that a supply that, you know, they can secrete out of the pain and misery of others, or, you know, whatever it's doing for them. So there's a void inside of them that they're feeling in a toxic level. And that's why when we think about like the Jeffrey Dahmers, who not only murder and rape and kill someone, but then sleep with them and everything, like it's something inside of them. And those things are demons, number one. Those are archives inside of these people. They're vessels just like all of us. And there's a lot of demonic stuff. And that's why, who asked? Kiki, you asked about narcissism being genetic. I want to also just point out here, and I don't really hear people talking about this in the community, but they're like family curses and stuff, and things that can get passed down generation to generation until somebody figure out maybe how to do the work to try to not only just manage it, but obliterate that thing. So, you know, these archives are like haunting, you know, the family through generation after generation until somebody steps in there. And that's why I'm saying, like, we need more prayer warriors. We need, you know, it could even get so deep that you need to go find a root worker, but a real one, okay? Not, you know, a bad one, like a legit ass root worker to try to get that family curse out of there for you and help you, you know, manage it while they're doing the work or something. Because yeah, and that's why you can see these generational curses. Like somebody has to break it, you know, somebody has to break it by, making different decisions, but being able and having the awareness to see that there's a higher level of things going on here on the spiritual realm that needs to be addressed. All right. And having that armor to do it. But yeah, who said this? What singer was it? And I'm not that crazy about her personally, but she said something that I can agree with. And I do like some of her music. Michelle K. Yeah, Michelle K. She said that she felt like her life was so blessed because, yes, she did work hard and everything. But she said, child, my grandmother, and this was before her grandmother said so many prayers over her life, you know? So we have to be careful, especially if we feel like when you guys say it's narcissism genetic. I also say that children are just naturally narcissistic, at least until the age of maybe 7 or 8. And until they're learning that, and they have to learn this from their caregivers. If they are not taught this, there's going to be a problem. But maybe around the age of 7 or 8, when they start to learn that, oh, there is enough for me. I can share. I can be mature. I don't have to, because, toddlers, they don't want to share their toy. They have a whole bunch of them. But that one toy, someone else, but, oh, I want it back. They don't understand that. They have to be taught that. But they may not connect the dots with it until a little bit later. But you still have to keep intercepting them in the meanwhile. But yeah, children are narcissistic by nature because they're codependent. But in that situation, any psychologist will tell you it's normal, it's natural. They're very they're just trying to get their needs met, and that's what they understand, and their brain is underdeveloped, and this is why they're supposed to be taught things, you guys. But the ball gets missed here if those things aren't being taught, or the child is not grasping that. And then the genetic part is them just being predispositioned to remain narcissistic, or to remain a narcissist. But what I'll also say about that, Kiki, is even teenagers can be extremely self-focused, and in psychology, this is a normal thing. 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, and they talk about how the brain isn't fully developed until even the age of 25. Okay? So whether they're going to remain a narcissist, this is something that we're going to know looking backwards than looking forward, if you will. Meaning, I can't take this 8-year-old, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 teenager that's wreaking havoc, that's incredibly selfish, and say this child is a narcissist. I'm going to know later when their life has, their brain is fully developed, if they stick with it. Because what the trend will be is, you'll see an adult with a fucked up narcissistic behavior, and they were doing it as a child, it's going to remain consistent. Or there's going to be a shift. And this is where you see people that have problematic teenage years, but now they're completely, law-abiding, successful adults. And it doesn't mean that they might not even be a covert narc. So in that case, it would be, the people who are up close on them that would see it more in that case. But generally speaking, it's something in hindsight with children and narcissism. But they're naturally going to be narcissistic. Just as a nature of a child. It's just their natural reaction. It's how they survive, or that's how they know how to be until they evolve and learn better from their caregivers. And if their caregivers are narcissistic, then, they're just adding to that energy and infusing it into the child that much more, rather than breaking them out of it, if you will. But as far as Kiki saying about the genetics, yeah. And then that's how you can hear someone say, oh, they act just like their mom. They act just like their dad. Or for some people that might be like, damn, or they might have a revelation later in life, damn, I still ended up being just like my mom, just like my dad. And they might not even like how they were. You know, it just means some shadow work needs to be done in that case. So, yeah, be willing to go to war, not even just for your spirit and soul, especially for those of you who have had children with a narcissist, but just understand that you won't be able to save them all. And it's completely possible that you would love the shit out of your child and done everything you could for them, and they still end up being a narcissist, especially if you had a child with a narcissist, you know? So you're going to have boundaries with that child and not let them pull on your heartstrings. And yeah, and God bless you, because there's a lot of energy involved because, there's not a lot of help out here for parents who have to raise narcissistic children, especially as they get older and, they're able to cause damages and do things. There's not really a lot of help. There's child abuse agencies to help children out. But then, because there's other levels to this, you guys, the child abusing the parents. There's not a lot of help for that. Let me find a survivor on here who's experiencing that. Tell me, how much help was it for you when your child tried to kick your behind or, terrorize your home or anything like that, you guys? There's not a lot of help for it. So it puts you in a very awkward situation at that point. I tell you that right there. And then, depending on your support system and all types of factors in there and how old the child is, and it could be a series of a lot of things going on, a lot of trauma, and just it just pushes you through a lot, you guys. You'll be trying to figure out if there's a mental illness that you've missed. They may be in and out of mental hospitals, inpatient, You may have to call the police a lot. It's a lot, and it not only disrupts them, but it's disrupting you. May come in between your career, your job, your work. Okay. And the other children are being traumatized by it as well. So it can be very, very, it's a lot. And it's different than just dating someone or marrying someone. You could divorce them. You could break up with them. This is your child. So it's a whole nother type of commitment and involvement. And yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, you may have to let them be in a assisted living residency, if they could just get too toxic, they're too full of anger. If you can't get to the root of it, if you can't get that resolution, and it's just too unhealthy and toxic and even dangerous. So it's a lot, you guys. It is a lot. And God bless the parents out there who are, society look at as problematic children, but, they unfortunately, they may end up being the future adult narcissists that are like, doing these effed up things. So in spite of your love and your prayers and, whatever you're doing to try to bring peace and, balance into their life, into the household, everything. So it's a lot. It can be a lot, you guys. And like I say, God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. You really do have to do this one day at a time thing, And I kind of digressed, so I'll probably add those topics to the title in case, someone, because I've been telling you guys, I'm going to make this video about narcissistic children and Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot, you guys. But yeah, go to war. You're going to have to really go to war. And you're really going to be tested then. And, unfortunately, depending on how far things go, you kind of got to let go of titles. And I've made videos about that, because it makes you vulnerable to not making the healthy decision. And I've seen videos of parents getting killed by their children, and this is probably after a lot of red flags and them just not wanting to give up on their child, but not knowing how to love them from a distance, not knowing how to set up those proper boundaries in whatever the situation is in their case, not taking those red flags to protect themselves enough. So, yeah, it's a very serious thing. It's a very serious thing. You have to have that awareness. But if you've come to a channel like this, you're going to get that awareness. It's just, you doing the right things with it. Doing the right things with it. So, with that being said, I'm just looking over my Machiavelli notes, you guys. I just seen the word criminal virtue. This guy had a lot to say. And then I found it interesting that he was from the age of 29, the anoretic degree, the degree of crisis. That is when he stepped up to be the prince of the Republic of Florence. That's so telling. So, yeah. But yeah, you'll see this in a narcissist. And that's why they had to put it in that dark trade. Machiavellianism, personality trait that denotes cunningness and the ability to be manipulative and a drive to use whatever means necessary to gain power, to gain control or authority over, to maintain that. So, yeah, pretty much, you guys. I'm just reading through my notes to see. And then, so in this article that I found, they said there are 4 ways to identify a Machiavellian personality, basically. Number 1, it says Machiavellians perform well in work environments where the results are ambiguous. So things that just run off the nature of innovation and creativity can lead to the chaotic work level or work environment for Machiavellians, as opposed to very strict rules. Or it says there's evidence that Machiavellians do less well in companies that are rule-based than those that ignore set procedures of the institution. So wherever there's no structure and order, basically, right there. Number 2, it says Machiavellians are unable to show the full range of emotions and can appear detached from situations. In fact, when distressing events occur whereby most individuals would display negative effect, Machiavellians gain pleasure from watching negative events unfold. Then it says, initially, Machiavellians will be charismatic and friendly. They will use both soft and hard tactics to obtain their objectives, such as using self-disclosure, like earlier when I said telling on themselves. However, they will also attempt to make someone feel guilty. And number 4, Machiavellians perform well in competitive environments. So in a romantic sense, when you're competing for someone, which none of you should be fighting over a love interest or competing for a love interest. So it says Machiavellians perform well in competitive environments, and initially colleagues will find Machiavellians friendly because they use soft tactics to gain commitment. However, there's always a however, right? Over time, Machiavellians tend to lose favor as colleagues detect the inauthenticity of their actions. Yeah, because they were just doing strategic behaviors to what? suit their agenda. So let's differentiate Machiavellians from narcissism or narcissists, even though you can have both, okay? But unlike narcissists, Machiavellians do not have to be the center of attention and are satisfied as being puppeteers who pull the strings, which is like more psychopathic too. Number two, they try to minimize the influence of others and withhold knowledge with colleagues. They use manipulation to reach their goals while scheming for personal benefit. They tend to compete rather than cooperate. That's why sometimes, and I was going to make a video about that narcissistic relationship, you might feel like a toxic ass sibling, like for real. It might resemble that type of situation. But let's slowly read that again. They try to minimize the influence of others. Right. Because they want the influence and withhold knowledge, of course, with colleagues. Because if they know the secrets, if they know what's going on, if they can be one up, they want to be steps ahead, right? Yeah. To reach their goals while scheming for personal benefit. Yeah. Number three, within the workplace, they will also entice coworkers to engage in risky behaviors and will try to seduce their coworkers or supervisors into romantic relationships to suit their own ends. Right. So we'll just read in between the lines. They're willing to sleep their way to the top, right? But then, especially like a female one, then she could use that to Me Too movement, right? Or, okay, well, I'll tell them that you've been doing this. Or, they've caught you, they've gotten you to get muddy and dirty with them now. So this could lead to, what is the word that I'm trying to think of? Blackmailing? Yeah, that's the word. So you guys out there, we have to evolve past our penises. I know that is like so hard to do, and I don't have one. I'm just assuming. But you gotta, when it comes to business, where they say you can't shit where you lay. Lay where you shit. Whatever. Either way, it makes sense, right? Ben Rose says, what's funny is that Machiavelli's book actually destroyed his career. Yeah. Right, because he had to, he went into exile. Yeah. And he ended up dying poor. Yeah. So, some people might call that karma because he's hurt a lot of people, he hurt a lot of people. The saying I was told is don't dip your pen in the company ink. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's a cute one. I like that, Bidwell. I like that. Oh my gosh. So the next part of this, I didn't put that up here, but it says how to cope. Well, let me see something. Do I still have that up? Yeah, but these people are very malevolent, if you will. And that's basically having or showing to wish to do evil onto others. Malicious, spiteful, hostile, evil-minded, bitter. Okay. Sometimes that's a part of it. Bitter Betsy's and bitter Bobby's. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have way too many things open. That's funny, Benrel. And I do have a couple of videos of dealing with like narcissists on the work scene. Feel free to check those out. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm looking over these questions too. So, you know, what was I mean? Using power strategies to gain prestige. So I am going to be reading The Prince a little more in-depthly. It's actually free, you guys, on Amazon. I like having hard copies too, so I'll probably just order it just to have that hard copy. But I believe the ebook is free, you guys, on Amazon if you want to check out The Prince. Because when I went on there this morning to buy the hard copy, I seen it. So you guys could dive into it. And then there's plenty of YouTube videos that kind of summarize his, I hate saying this word, but ideology. There we go. Why is that word such a tongue twister for me? I don't know. So, all right, you guys. If you don't have any more questions, I'm going to be ending this live chat. But, we're going to fight for ourselves, right? We're going to war, baby. Understand that it is a war. Because the longer they can keep you distracted, right? They can knock you off your purpose. They can eat off your table, waste your resources. You don't want that. Waste your time, stuff you can't get back. Although if you take the lessons, it's not a waste of time. It's just, you had to learn, you had to get it out the mud. But the lotus flower does grow out of the mud. Flowers do grow through concrete. Okay. So people can come out of rough situations and flourish, you guys. You can do that. You can do that. These experiences don't have to be to your detriment, So Machiavelli, he was just trying to, I think his point was it's hard to be moral and have ethical standards while, trying to lead a kingdom, if you will. And I would beg to say not hard, but you just can't really have them, so to speak. So pretty much. But like I said, I'll put the test for the Machiavellianism underneath the live chat for those of you who want to take it. Welcome to those of you who are listening to me for the first time. I don't even know how many videos now, probably over 800 videos on this channel, live chats, regular uploads, all types of content to help people heal from toxic relationships, narcissistic abuse, to help you do shadow work on yourself, heal your, inner child, or to help you have more self-awareness, learn more about psychology, all of that good stuff, you guys. Take, yes, it's called The Prince, CB 247, the name of his book. So on this channel, I push increasing emotional maturity. So I'll bring different types of books or contents to you guys that I think would help you do that. So this is one of the books to definitely read because a lot of, like I said, when we're talking about psychopaths and sociopaths, even narcissists, this is how they think. So it's a great way to begin to get a deeper look at that. All right. And the other books that I mentioned earlier, the 48 Laws of Power, and The Art of War. Those are a couple of other books to help increase your emotional maturity. Whether you agree with these tactics or not, it's just understanding different angles and seeing how other people think as well. And then, understanding how manipulation works. And then you'll be able to see these, if someone tries to use it on you, you'll understand at least what tactic they're using, right? It's going to make you more powerful, whether you, use them or not. Just understanding and being able to identify them. And while we're saying that, you guys, I've written 4 books myself, and I am on Amazon as well. And I'm in Barnes and Nobles as well for the 4 books that I've written. If you look up my name, Lakia Crawford, you can see here in the web address. If you're interested in reading any of my books, which are the first, the first two books that I wrote, The X Factor, Volume 1 and 2, is to help people get over their breakups, and have the right type of perceptions with that. So if you like my content, you'll like that. You can get hard copies and ebooks. The third book that I wrote was Silent Tears. That was to help people or survivors of sexual abuse. Okay. So if you've experienced that, I have some exercises and just ways that you can kind of work through that in the privacy of your home or wherever you're reading the book at. And that's also available in hard copy or ebook format. And then the fourth book that I wrote is The Beauty of the Eye. And that book is just about higher level thinkings and illuminations and like activating your third eye and just really getting those pearls of wisdom and being able to, like on the Matrix, take that pill and actually be able to see the world around you from a higher level than just the 3-dimension, So that's a great, great book as well. I love it. And I love the artwork on that. So, just wanted to share some of my books with you guys for my bookworms out there. And then for even those of you who aren't bookworms, I will encourage you to become a bookworm. There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to benefit you. As a matter of fact, some of the most successful people in the world, they read like one book a week. Okay. And in this society where we're just so go, 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 we don't take a moment to be still. So even if you have to read an electronic version of something, I highly recommend it. And the Bible as well. Even if you're not a Christian, there's wisdom inside of that and hidden secrets even. So whether you're a Christian or not, read the Bible and take what you can from that as well. All right. It's all still a resource and it's amazing. Like, oh my God. It's just spirit. It just works in different ways. I do stand by the Bible myself. And I bought these cute little notebooks because I'm into buying cute little notebooks now that I've digressed it a little bit. And I slid these books in my Bible. I have multiple Bibles laying around my house, but I picked this particular Bible up again. I was going through a little something and I took those books out, and I'm one of those people that thinks, there's not really any coincidences. Our steps are ordered and divine, if you will. So when I took these books, these thin little notebooks out of my Bible, I look at the page, I look at the verses on those pages, and they were verses that actually helped me with a situation that I was going through. It helped to open my eyes on how to see something, or it was just, I knew it was spirit talking to me. I was like, dang, like, whoa, like that was just very powerful to me. So sometimes I'll just do that. I'll flip and finger touch something and it's a word for me. But in this particular situation, it was just there. And they were like, the 5 verses I was looking at, it was eerily on point with exactly what I was going through. And spirit knew how to communicate with me that way. So, but yeah, amazing, amazing. Aw, Ben is so funny. Yes, reading is fundamental. And my class act voice. Who watched class act with Kid and Play? In that first scene where that guy who wasn't Kid or Play, the bully, whoever, the villain, he was like, now reading is fundamental. Oh my God, that was too funny. Too funny, you guys. But yes, Ben, feel free. And I love it. I love it. Those are my babies, especially that Volume 1, X Factor Poetry Edition, Volume 1. That one, when I wrote that book, I was in the thick of healing from narcissistic abuse, and that writing was very therapeutic for me. I was up because I had all this artistic, restless energy, and also restless energy from just having a lot on my mind and going through the healing process and going through that purge that I said that we go through, you guys. And I chose to channel it that way. And I gave birth to books at that point. And it's amazing. They're like babies. And it's awesome because I just feel like with the content that I'm creating here on YouTube and with those books, it's just a way for me to always leave a part of my energy, you know? It's always here for somebody else. Like people watch videos I made years ago and it still helps them in their life today, you know? And that's God using me. That's not for me to be arrogant and big headed, but it's just a way of God using me. But I'm happy to be used in that way. And like I said, it's a way to kind of make yourself immortal as well, leaving that energy behind. Because I don't want none of my situations to be in vain. It was never in vain once I learned from it too, but it's always each one teach one. So this is my way of giving back for all my pain and suffering, for all my hard lessons that I had to learn. But yeah, check it out. It's going to bless your life. And, you know, you're going to get to see some other sides of me. And it's awesome. You know, I don't just do things half-assed. Okay. So definitely check a sister out. With that being said, it was great to drop in, you guys, and spend some time with you. I don't know if I'll be back on today or if the next upload may not be a live chat. It might be more of just a regular upload for you to listen to. You can always request videos down below. You guys always hear me. For those of you who have been around, I'll say, oh, this is a viewer requested video. You know, Cat, don't have to have your tongue. Reach out. Let me know if there's something you would like me to address that you haven't found in those 800 videos, or, hey, you want me to give a fresh view on it. I'm more than happy. I'm here to serve you guys. That's a life well lived, serving with boundaries, of course. All right, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and end this live chat. It was awesome hanging out with you guys. I hope somebody learned something today. Okay. And what do I say at the end of all of my videos? Never give up on yourself. Continue to do the work. And until next time, sweeties, please take care.